The social media embargo has lifted for Ms. Marvel, which Disney gave me the first 2 episodes of to review. But I cannot review them until the review embargo lifts, which is the day before release, June 7th. So today, we talk business, one of our favorite things to discuss. And oh boy, there's a lot of business to talk about here. I'm very curious to see who the audience ends up being for Ms. Marvel, which is basically live action Turning Red, but with Pakistani heritage rather than Chinese, meets Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. That's right, I said what I said, and I'm going to explain it now. Both those things, by the way, are very popular. Turning Red has been a huge hit for Disney+, and while it's still too early to see how Rescue Rangers is done, we haven't gotten to the statistics for that because it's a couple of weeks delayed. It still did very well on social media, and according to Disney+, was the #1 trending movie on the site when it debuted. But is that kind of entertainment what MCU fans want? And also, maybe, just maybe, this is the first example of the MCU aggressively trying to expand its appeal into new fandoms, where they're not worried about feeling the Marvel pull is enough to bring everybody else along. I mean, because that begs the question, will the Turning Red fans even be interested in a mainstream superhero story in the MCU? Even if it's tailored directly to them, it might just not be their jam. Now, where does Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers come in? I'm sure a lot of you are like, get back to that, Grace, because I just can't get past it. How are these two the same? The cameos. Not people cameos so much, but I guess references. Oh, the references. Moments where you're like, I can't believe Marvel made that joke about themselves. That was so fun. Now, so far, just 2 episodes in, no huge actors have shown up. Although I suspect someone's going to show up. I mean, they're just making it too much that they have to. But the first episode does have an end credit scene, which is a nice little surprise. Dial down those expectations as low as they can go. But I was very happy because I love this actor, so I was very happy to see them again, and they do stick around to play. But like even in the end credits montage, you know how they don't have an opening credit sequence really? So they have those very artistic and ornate end credit montages at the end of the Marvel Disney Plus shows. You know, just like they have the concept art at the end of all the Star Wars shows. But anyway, here you can see in one of the frames, they have the Trust to Bro moving truck from Hawkeye. Like that kind of stuff is in there a lot. There's like even more than that. Like you can't even imagine. And I hope nobody ruins it for you because it's like Chip and Dale where you're just like, I can't believe how far they're going and how inventive they are. That stuff's really cool. Think a little bit like the opening of the recent Avengers video game where Kamala Khan was also the lead, minus the actual Avengers themselves. There are no big actors, like surprise cameos in the first 2 episodes. I just want to make sure that your expectations are where they should be. But I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised in terms of these kinds of things. I think Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers is an excellent comparison. Anyway, even if you're not totally into Kamala Khan's very charming teen angst, there's a lot of fun MCU stuff to distract you with, which I think is maybe partially the idea. Kamala, after all, is a huge MCU fan just like the rest of us. So I think maybe that will help with some of the other elements that are very unique, let's say, to MCU storytelling. Now, on that note, let's go back to Turning Red, because the coincidences between these 2 movies is just ridiculous. Like they're pretty much the same story. Basically, a modern teen girl who embraces North American culture, much to the shock of her family, her traditional family. She's interested in boys. She loves to draw, including sketches of people she knows. She wants to attend an event her mother doesn't approve of, and is driving her more traditional, strict mother up the wall, while her kind, easygoing father is the one who tries to keep the peace between them. And then this girl realizes she has this power that actually comes from her heritage and causes visions of mysterious women she might be related to. Oh my God. As I said, it's like the exact same story. And it's crazy to me that you have 2 divisions at the same company that have this little communication that they didn't realize they were telling the same story. I mean, Pixar to Marvel maybe is like, it's not Pixar to Disney Animation. Maybe that makes it a little more understandable that they didn't, check with each other. And, these, both are very secretive too. I guess that's the downside of trying to avoid leaks. Your own company doesn't know what you're doing, and then this happens. But it's just so similar. I'm like, how could you guys not have talked? You have all the same story points. But Disney, by the way, has a cultural awareness division. So you would think that at least that division and the people who worked in it, there's a woman who I believe who heads it up, you think she would have been privy to both these projects and would have been like, you know what? Let me put you two in a room because you're telling the same story. And, maybe we should try and make them a little different. Anyway, yes, just like Turning Red celebrates Chinese culture, Ms. Marvel has the same level of representation for Pakistani culture and immigrant families with one foot in their new home while the other one is back in the country that they came from and that their families are from. And the parents, of course, more so than the children, and so that struggle as well. One big difference, though, from Turning Red is that Kamala is not an only child and has an older brother who, just like in the comics, is getting married to a black Muslim woman. I mean, again, it's right out of the comics. And I have to say, both of these actors are very charismatic. I was like, are we going to do more with them? Because they're awesome. And if you've read the Ms. Marvel comic, especially in its early days, you will be impressed with how faithful this show is in many ways. But in many other ways, it's not at all faithful to the original comic. They have added some very strong commentary. All right, let's talk. And one comic book thing. All right, so let's talk about some of the controversies that might surround this show. So, because I'll be interested to see how audiences react to these aggressive changes. Because, we were talking about fans of the original comic, MCU fans who haven't read the comic, and also people who are brought to the show because of its unique subject matter and the things that it's covering, who are like, maybe I should check this out. And they're going to be like, I don't know how I feel about what you did. There is a much bigger focus on the Muslim religion here and Muslim communities, which, I think is great to see in a property like this. But I think I have to let you know that they're not only highlighting the good of the Muslim religion and Muslim communities, but let's just say the things that also really need to be improved. Particularly someone like Kamala Khan, who, just like the comic book character and her idol, Captain Marvel, are feminists, are very strong feminists. So you can imagine they have a lot of things they'd like to change about Muslim communities and the Muslim religion, just like Kamala here and her friends. So I'm curious to see how people react to that. And it's frustrating that a lot of people don't like feminist commentary in their pop culture entertainment, which is a shame because I think it's done very well here. Then, of course, there's the changes to her powers. Again, I've only seen 2 episodes, but let's just say everything I've told you and been tweeting about over the past year or so is true and very quickly, firmly established. The term jinn, which I believe is an Arabic term for genie, is used several times right away, planting the very clear seeds of where we're going here. And while Kamala Khan does stretch in one scene in the first 2 episodes, so do Green Lanterns. She's a Green Lantern. She's a Green Lantern, but with purple instead of green. So I'm not sure how Muslims will react to the jinn angle. Is it celebrating their culture? Is it a cool, unique way to do that? Or is it playing into stereotypes, right? I'm not sure. Because I'd have to hear from those of you in the Muslim community how you feel about it. And I know a lot of you have a lot of strong opinions on it already. And I think, again, unfortunately, a lot of comic book fans are not going to be able to get past the similarities to Green Lantern. And it might make it a target to some people who are upset about feeling that this show is stealing from Green Lantern. But you know what? DC is so far behind at this point, I feel like whatever, man. Her powers look, so far, very cool. They're sparkly, they're gorgeous. I think I like them. Sometimes the VFX are a little wonky on this show, at least the first 2 episodes, but I think her powers are cool. I never liked the stretchiness, to be honest with you. I think this is an upgrade. Then speaking of derivative, Iman Vellani looks and acts so much like Haley Steinfeld. The line delivery in some cases is the exact same, that it makes you feel like if Kate Bishop and Kamala Khan were to meet, it would cause an incursion. There's a little MCU humor for you. All right, so as for whether or not I enjoyed Ms. Marvel, I think you're getting an inkling. But I'll let you know for sure on June 7th when the review embargo lifts. But from a business perspective, I totally get why the MCU made this show. As the MCU expands exponentially and has so many different shows, why not use them to try and reach out to different audiences? Particularly, I think, people who watch Disney+. This is very Disney Channel-y. It is very it's very Turning Red. It's very, it feels more like cinematic. It feels more, I think Disney Channel doesn't do the show justice. I'm going to stick to Turning Red meets Chippendale Rescue Rangers. And so those are Disney Plus hits. So I can see that. I can see trying to reach those people. But it's a leap of faith to try and bring these two very different audiences together. Star Wars couldn't do it, although they were really half-hearted in their attempt. They didn't do a very good job. Ms. Marvel really goes for it in trying to bring these two fandoms together. I mean, there will always be some of us who are multifaceted fans who enjoy lots of different types of things. But for the most part, I think you have to understand, you have to realize that the girl power chibi doodle crowd is very different than the mainstream superhero comic books accurate crowd. That's just very different crowds, especially when the new character has the same powers as a fan favorite, and she didn't before. But look, here's the thing. If it's at all possible to bring these fandoms together, I firmly believe that Ms. Marvel is the show that could do it. Then in August, we'll find out if She-Hulk can unite rom-com and female dramedy fans with mainstream superhero fans. I think She-Hulk is an outreach show in the same way. So, and I have some friends who don't usually watch MCU shows because it's just they watch the movies, but not even, I have some friends who it's become too much for them to keep up with. But they're interested in She-Hulk because it reminds them of some other stuff they watch, but with this cool superhero twist. But let's see, for these shows to be successes, the new groups need to come in, but the original group needs to stay. So that's what we need to do. So we'll see. So what are your thoughts on this business breakdown of Ms. Marvel? Which fandom do you belong to? Or are you multifaceted like myself? Can these opposite fandoms be united? And are you planning to watch Ms. Marvel? Especially now that I've told you about all those fun Easter eggs. All right, share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.